Hey guys, I'm Kent and welcome back to my channel. So in the last video, I know I said that I was probably going to set this aside as I finished the CT70 build, but I've been thinking about this too much, so decided to start tearing into it. And as I did, and like all projects, I've started to find new things that are going to be more problematic than I expected. The front wheel has a lot more rust than I thought that it did, and I don't know if I'll be able to reuse these rims. I found a little more rust in the rest of the frame. Most, it looks like it's probably going to be okay, but is a little concerning. Also, the steering stop is kind of mangled. I may be able to bang it back into shape, or I may have to pull it off and re-weld it. But again, I did that in the 1974 CT70 build, so it's something that I know how to do, just one more step that I need to take. So at this point, I'm going to pull the bike apart and figure out what all the pieces are that I may need to replace. But at the same time, I'm trying to figure out the colors. All right, let me see if it'll work here, just showing on my phone some of these colors that I'm looking at. So this is the color that the bike originally came in. It says Kyande Gurei Sufuru Papuru. Candy Graceful Purple. That's a very Japanese-y name. Anyway, I think it looks good. I'm not a fan of purple per se. I'm not a fan of the brown seat with the purple tank. And this is actually kind of strange because the tank and the fenders are purple, but the frame is still black. So I think I'm going to change it up, and I've been looking through all of these different colors. There's quite a few. But this is the one that I think I'm going to build it. I think yellow is a good color for a monkey. I really dig the black wheels and most of the bike being black with the yellow highlights. This tank will be easier for me to reproduce too, since I can easily print that Honda wing logo. This one is called Paru Shining Yellow, Pearl Shining Yellow. Also super Japanese-y name, but I really like the way this looks. So the plan right now is to turn this into this. I've got the bike pretty stripped down. Something that I've noticed though as a new problem is that these front forks, not only are the metal fork tubes pretty seriously bent, but it looks like the fork housing is as well. Let's see if I can get it to an angle here. You can see that the left fork is at a steeper rake than the right fork, and it also is kind of evident at the top. Anyway, I assume it's bent here, so I'm hoping that I can just bend them back, but we'll see. Something else that I couldn't figure out was the frame itself is nice and straight, and that's one of the most important things to me. But this rear wheel is offset to the left, and I couldn't figure out what was bent or wrong with it. But as I looked on the side, it turns out that these Z50 wheels have different left and right side hubs. For some reason, it looks like at one point the hub was on this side and they flipped it to the other side. But it needs to be on this side because the depth of the rim on the left side here is a couple of centimeters deeper than it is on the right side, which is quite a bit more shallow. So I'm not sure why they flipped it and have it there incorrectly, but it's causing this to be offset, and turns out that it's not a problem. Just when I rebuild this wheel, it needs to be put together correctly. So I think I'm going to call it a day with this last problem. I was trying to back off the steering nut to pull off the forks, and the threads are really smashed right around here. Not sure how it happened, but with all the other bends, I'm sure it just had to do with it being thrown around or maybe from a crash. But I need to figure out a way to get this steering nut off. So I'm going to figure out what the thread pattern is for this and try to re-tap it. I'm not sure if I can get far enough down though to tap it without hitting this nut. So I may have to try to cut off the nut carefully. Anyway, first is to figure out what the thread pattern is, buy something to thread it, and give that a shot. And I'll look for some alternatives at the same time. All right, so fast forward a couple of days and I have an M22 by 1.0 die that I'm going to try to clean up the threads on the steering stem here so that I can back off this, this nut. All right, I think that's as low as it can go, so let me back this off, see if the threads are good enough to get that nut off now. All right, the threads look very good now. Let me try to back this off. All right, that was the last main thing that I had to get off. One thing that I didn't grab on camera but ended up being a lot more work than I thought it would. The rear brake pedal was actually rusted onto the post that holds it, so I had to very delicately make lots of cuts to get the damn thing off, but finally was able to, and with the fork now free, I should have all the pieces in parts so that I can finally get it to powder coat. I also got both hubs off and cleaned up, so I'm going to get some black paint on those. The factory rims turned out not to be reusable, so I'm going to purchase new ones of those and get those powder coated black. Alright, so thanks everybody for following this build. Stay tuned for more videos.